Hello, my name is Connor Hahn, and this is my first video for the All Sports Podcast. It's an exciting time of year. The pollen and the storms are intensifying, but we got NASCAR, baseball, and everyone's favorite, the Stanley Cup playoffs. This year's Stanley Cup is seeming to be very competitive off the bat, with some great early series in the round of 16, with great teams such as the Florida Panthers, the Washington Capitals, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and underdogs like the Edmonton Oilers and St. Louis Blues, who are preparing to show how good they are in the playoffs. For the first series in the round of 16, we're going to go down to Florida as the rivalry between the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning appears in this great playoffs. The Panthers would handle the Lightning pretty well, winning the series 4-1. While they did lose in Game 3, 5-1, the Panthers would proceed to outscore the Lightning 10-5 in the remaining games to secure their spot in the round of 8. The defending Stanley Cup champions overall put together a pretty dominant series against their regional rivals, and hopefully are looking at a deep run, but only time will tell as they face a strong Toronto Maple Leafs squad. Now we're going to head up north as the rivalry between Washington and Montreal. Well, if you can't call it a rivalry. I'm just going to really refer to a lot of these games as rivalries because at this point, it kind of feels like it if you're the fan bases. The Washington Capitals almost handled the Montreal Canadiens if it weren't for a rough Game 1 where they would come out on top thanks to Alex Ovechkin winning in overtime. However, Game 3 would be a lot rougher and they would lose in Montreal. And this Game 3 was very brutal for the Capitals, as 6 different Canadiens players would score against them. After Game 3, however, the Capitals would proceed to demolish the Canadiens throughout the rest of the series, and they would eventually win in Game 5. A major series awaits them, though, against the Carolina Hurricanes, who are known to put some pretty good performances against teams when they need to. Now we get ready for a battle on the East Coast between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils, where the Hurricanes would storm over the Devils. The only loss the Hurricanes would have in the series was Game 3 up in New Jersey, where Simon Nemec would score 3 minutes into overtime to get the Devils a win. Game 5 would also be tough for the Hurricanes. However, Sebastian Aho would score 5 minutes in the second overtime to get the Hurricanes a series win. The Hurricanes were winning their series with Washington, which could either be a blowout series if they play as in some of the games that they have, or as I expect, a very tough series between 2 great teams who really want this year's Stanley Cup. Now we head up towards the capital region of Canada, as the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators have their great rivalry also come into this year's playoffs. The Maple Leafs had a harder time than I expected to seal the series against their close rivals, the Ottawa Senators. Toronto, however, would win 4-2. Games 4 and 5 seemed like the Senators may turn the series to force in Game 7. However, they would end up losing in Game 6, massive heartbreak for their fans. 3 straight games would end in overtime, with the Maple Leafs winning Games 2 and 3, while the Senators won Game 4 in overtime. Overall, I think this was probably the second most competitive series, and the main reason I think it was close is due to the crowds that came out for this rivalry, which is one of the originals in hockey. The Maple Leafs have to play the defending Stanley Cup winners, the Florida Panthers, in the next round. This should be a competitive series, as the 2 squads will be ready to battle, understanding the consequences of this next series, and I really think that Toronto could get a win. Now we head out west to Edmonton versus Los Angeles. While being the underdogs in the series, the Edmonton Oilers win 4-2 against the Los Angeles Kings in the series. Games 1 and 2 seemed very scary for the Oilers, as the Kings would just dominate both games. Once the series came to Edmonton in Game 3, however, it would quickly turn around, where the Oilers win 4 straight games, including 1 away at Los Angeles. I honestly have Edmonton picked as a dark horse in this year's Stanley Cup, as the Oilers have a history of coming from behind, and it seems like it may happen again. If this series is anything to show, that Edmonton is a force to be reckoned with throughout the playoffs. Now we head out between Minnesota and Las Vegas. As the Minnesota Wild and Las Vegas Knights had a very competitive series, and the Knights will come out on top of the series. The Knights win Game 1 before being whooped by the Wild in the next 2 games. Their luck would change in Game 4's overtime as they would go on to win this series in Game 6. While the Knights did win, they have to play a highly energetic Edmonton team who is coming off a dominant series. This will be very, very hard for the Knights, as I expect the Oilers will most likely win this upcoming series. However, I will still point out to credit, considering how new the Las Vegas Knights are. I think they've actually done pretty well as a team. Now we go to what I consider the most competitive series in this year's playoffs. The Dallas Stars versus the Colorado Avalanche. These two rival teams will very much play their heart out, and I honestly feel really sorry for Colorado fans. The series would continue to go back and forth, with neither team winning 2 games in a row or dominating the series. It all came down to Game 6, where while Dallas was down 2-1 against Colorado, Mikko Rantanen would score a hat trick, or 3 goals for those who don't watch hockey and soccer, to put the Stars up 4-2 in the game, where they would seal the series against Colorado. I honestly really love this game, and it truly showed both teams' passion and drive to play. It's honestly what the sport should be, and really what any sport should be. Now we head to our currently ongoing series between Winnipeg and St. Louis. While the series isn't over, it's been quite a fun series. The Winnipeg Jets won the President's Cup, which is essentially the regular season cup for the team that has the most points, have been limping through this series against the second wild card of the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis, especially in the last few games, has been doing really well to keep the games close and hope to advance. As of writing, the series is tied 3-3. Game 7 for the Jets and Blues looks like it will potentially be one of the most competitive single games of this year. The Jets are looking to show that they aren't just a good regular season team, while the Blues want to shock the hockey world. Tonight's game will take place in Winnipeg, and I expect a very rowdy crowd. Honestly, the player to watch is Kyle Connor, number 81, who is left wing for the Jets, who has been carrying his team through this round so far. Now, to pick an MVP for the round, I really think it's obvious. It has to be Mikko Rantanen, number 96, right winger for the Dallas Stars. He scored 3 goals for Dallas to get them into the next round, as they were down, and it seemed like they would be eliminated as they weren't expected to win in Game 7. Honestly, I can't wait to see what he can pull against the winner of Winnipeg or St. Louis in the next round. This has been Connor Hahn, signing off.